Welcome back, everybody, to another Las Vegas Raiders news review podcast. I'm Jason Smith, also known as The Knight. And today, man, like I said, we were going to talk this week about the quarterback position. A little bit later in the week than I thought it would be. It's been a rough start to this week, but been listening to the news, been gathering up information, and I had this whole plan, this whole methodical thought that I'm going to try to go through all the quarterbacks that I think that we should be looking at, lining them up into different categories and different positions and options and all that jazz. But the combine's starting this week and a lot of interviews and a lot of things are happening around the league. And this is rumor mill central this week, man. This is where it all starts. Everybody tries to put their chess pieces on the table and say, checkmate. So before we get started, if you're new here and you like this content, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That's all I ask. I'm trying to build not only this brand up some more and get back into covering the Raiders from just someone else's perspective. But man, this is going to allow me to help grow my nonprofit program, Independently Blind, where I help young youth in high school that is going through sight loss. I also help kids with autism reach their best potential, help them accept their disability and live a better life. So I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything but a little bit of your time. Subscribe, watch the videos. All right, so here we go. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this thing, man, because Matthew Stafford is the hottest topic this week, like overpowering everything else that was talked about up until this point, right? We've heard it all. The Sam Darnolds, the Russell Wilsons, the Marcus Mariotas, the Justin Fields. Is it Aaron Rodgers? Everybody's name's in the hat, right? And we're used to this. As Raider fans, let's be honest. Anytime a high-profile player wants a trade, every time a high-profile player is going to take free agency on, or whatever the case may be, the Raiders are always tied to them. More specifically this year from the quarterback position because, well, honestly, we have the money. And not only do we have the money, we definitely, and we all know this to be more than factual, have the need. It's one of, if not the biggest need on this football team. And that can be debated as well. Chip Kelly has been on record already early on in this process to say too much emphasis sometimes is put on the quarterback and not the team as a whole. And I understand the concept, but let's face it, when you have the right quarterback, all that other stuff becomes a whole lot easier. Just ask Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, some of these guys that we're already talking about. The right player, the right system, the right players, that's the goal, period. It's not as if you go out and you put together the perfect front. You don't need the best quarterback, right? You're looking for that guy. You want that guy, okay? So why not these other guys, right? That's the biggest conversation. Like before, it was so much Sam Darnold. Now he's going to, where do I see him? I think he was going to be a Steeler. That's where they got him projected, right? They got Russell Wilson to the Jets. I think I seen something about that, right? And now they got Matthew Stafford full blown in on the Raiders. And they also said that Tom Brady has already met with Stafford in Montana, skiing and having a little chit chat conversation. Now, not going to say and deny that happened or not happened or why it happened and was it planned, not planned. Like I save that all for everything else. But I want to put this disclaimer out here first before we do any more talk about Matthew Stafford and the quarterback position, okay? Number one, this is rumor mill central. Starting this week, everything is going to be talked about. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have no contacts. Ain't nobody blowing up my phone, giving me inside information. Everything you're going to be hearing here are my own thoughts. Now, I will say I do know people that know people, which means I don't know nobody, right? Meaning have talked to people in the past, back when I used to do this before, that had connections, that had contacts, that would tell me things in secret. I just let them play out. I'm not here to break the news. I'm not here to act like I know more or I got inside sources, because nothing, and these guys that are connected have told me this, nothing is leaked that ain't purposely leaked, right? There's going to be some people, just like any organization, just like any job, any family, something's going to be said and one person tells another person. And yeah, things will dribble out. Some of these guys are getting information from people inside the building that is either accurate or very close to accurate because they're hearing rumblings or somebody, they're overhearing a conversation, whatever the case may be, right? The other things are everybody, the clock is wrong twice a day or right twice a day. I can't remember how that goes, but you know what I mean? Like, it's easy to come on here and logically look at these things and say, wow, is Matthew Stafford a fit for the Raiders? Duh. Matthew Stafford, all of them. I mean, we don't have a real quarterback. If you're going to tell me Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, even a guy like Russell Wilson, who I have low on my totem pole right now, right? These guys are proven quarterbacks. They've won Super Bowls. They played at a high level, which means they're better than anything we got right now. So if that's what this organization chooses to do, I'm here for it, with a few exceptions. So don't buy into everything you hear. All right, perfect example. Ben Johnson, our head coach? No, he's not, right? There's been others. Was Deshaun Jackson ever a Raider? No, he wasn't. Remember the get D-Jack over here? Like, there's been so many times that we are sold a rumor that we buy into because, let's face it, for the past 20 plus years, this organization has been so desperate, we will take anything that we think is going to propel us to the top faster, including Matthew Stafford. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what it would mean to get Matthew Stafford, or at least what I think about it. I would love it. I would love it. Shout out to my coworker, Jesse. I don't know if he still watches these podcasts, but if he does, I'm sure he's going to say something to me in the morning when I get to work. But he's a big-time Rams fan, and he's a big-time Matthew Stafford fan. And he's not the happiest guy to work with in the office right now when this topic comes up. And I flat out told him, like, I want Matthew Stafford to be a Ram. Like, I like Matthew Stafford's game. And it's not that I personally don't want, look, at the price, and I'm not even talking money, because money, if there's anything I've learned over the years, is salary caps can be manipulated in so many different ways. Just look at what New Orleans does year in and year out. And they keep getting these teams and players and contracts, and there's a lot of ways to manipulate a salary cap. If these guys sit down and they hammer out the numbers and they feel like they want to give Matthew Stafford $50 million a year, well, more power to you. I'm not going to get caught up in the money side of things, right? Just build a full roster. Don't waste it all on one player without making sure everything else is in place, because Matthew Stafford is nothing unless we have the other pieces. Which brings me up to my main point is, I've heard that the Rams really want a first round draft pick. That can't happen. I'm sorry, it can't happen. And that's my opinion. It's not saying that's law, right? Because Tom Brady, Spy Tech, Pete Carroll, if they choose to give up their first round pick for a 37-year-old quarterback and pay him $50 million, I'm not going to like what we give up. I mean, I'll be excited to have Matthew Stafford, but I'll be very disappointed on giving up that first round draft pick. If Matthew Stafford is brought here to do what we hope he can do, this may be one of the last times that we're sitting in a position to get a generational game changer on a 5-year contract to be on this football team, right? I don't care if it was going to be Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. I don't care if it was going to be Carter or Graham. I don't care who the pick was going to be. I know a lot of people are talking about Ashton Genty. I'd rather get Stafford and just go whoever I feel like, people say Genty at 6 would not be a good move. If you get me Matthew Stafford and you got me Genty, I ain't going to be mad at that. I'm not going to be. Now, depending on who else was on the board, right? We always tend to get up in a hizzy every time something doesn't go the way we think it should go. But nevertheless, you kind of get my point. That first round pick, regardless if it's quarterback this year or not, is extremely valuable. And I don't want to give it up for an older quarterback. I just don't see the value in that. And that's saying a lot, because I'm all for the 50 mil. All right. 3 years, $150 million. Do what you got to do with the guaranteed money, figure out the contract, do what you guys do, but don't give up that first round pick. Now, what does that mean moving forward? I don't know. Just to be honest, I don't know. Should we give up a second? Should we give up a third? Can we give up a player? Can we package up some things and make it a little bit more reasonable, because I'm just thinking back right now saying, like, I'm trying to win now, but getting Matthew Stafford and giving up a whole bunch of capital ain't going to help that go any faster. And giving up $50 million of $100 million in cap space is going to limit the defensive players that we've talked about that we want to bring back here. We want to get a free agent or two maybe on the offensive line. You don't want to limit ourselves, especially with those early round picks, to get impact players now. And I know Pete Carroll carries a lot of weight and can get and draw players in here. I'm sure Chip Kelly is going to have his own players that are going to want to come in here and contribute on this offense. And the same with Patrick Graham. These guys are going to want to come back. They're going to give us team-friendly deals. Shout out to Isaiah Palamau. I think that is a huge signing. I think he's an up-and-coming star, and this is going to give him an opportunity to do it at a more than fair price. The contract's 2 years, up to 8.5 or a little less than $8.5 million. That means there's a lot of incentives. And if he hits all those incentives, that money is still way affordable to bring a caliber, what I think Isaiah Polamalu can be, which is a very strong safety. All right, let's stay on track here. My ADD is kicking in. But I just think that, what we do moving forward is going to be very, very key, especially with the quarterback position, right? And we'll know a lot too, right? If we make this deal, then I guarantee you could tell Cam Ward, you could tell Shador, nice to know you. Nice to know you. But I also think that pulls in somebody like Will Howard into the forefront, man, like dead center. I think that is more viable. Like, you could bring in a guy that Chip Kelly's worked with. He knows they could pick up right where they left off. Because here's the thing. I keep hearing people talk about, and this is why I'm going to connect it with Will Howard real quick. If we bring in Stafford, we still got to try to get a quarterback. We got to start developing quarterbacks now. And we'll get into this a little deeper, sometime within the next week or so, I'm sure. Quarterback is going to be something I talk about a lot to get caught up and get my thoughts out. But a guy like Will Howard could sit behind Matthew Stafford and learn the NFL game. A lot of people I hear talk say that, well, he played with Chip Kelly. They won a national championship. He knows his offense. He knows his goods, his bads. And yes, when it comes to running his offense, his terminology, what he thinks, what he's, what the plays he's trying to put out there. Yeah, Will Howard will come in here and probably have a good grasp of what Chip Kelly wants. What he's not going to have is the clearness, the clear vision of what a professional NFL defense is trying to do, or the speed of the game, or how that all correlates, how he calls a play, changes a play, reads a run option, whatever it may be. There's sometimes there's a learning curve there. But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, CJ Stroud figured it out or Jaden Daniels figured it out. I'm not going to play that card. You have to have the open mindset no matter what quarterback we get. If we're starting a rookie quarterback, the odds are we're most likely going to struggle more. We're not going to necessarily get a Jaden Daniels or a CJ Stroud that's going to take us to the playoffs his rookie year. We will hope for that, but that's not guaranteed. But Will Howard would be excellent in this scenario because you got a guy like Matthew Stafford that is a team guy, a good locker room guy. He can really read defenses. He can really throw the football. And Will Howard gets no pressure, and he has time to develop, and he could take that place further down the road, whatever the contract is. Now, let's go ahead and put a bow on this because I don't want to repeat myself in any way, shape, or form, okay? Bottom line, should we get Matthew Stafford? The answer is yes, as long as we're not giving up a first-round pick. I'm tempted to say I don't want to give up a second-round pick, but that would highly be unlikely. Like, it's going to cost us something, and I'm as much as I'm on the fence, Matthew Stafford would be a game changer for this team. It will elevate the level of our ability to win games instantly, especially with this coaching staff, this offensive coordinator, and we'll see if we continue to sign our defensive players back. This would be a huge signing. That doesn't take us out of the quarterback running. I really do believe that we need to go out and land a Will Howard, and if we clean the slate, maybe we wrap up another free agent. There's been talks and rumors about Zach Wilson and a few others. there's a lot of options on the table. I want to come back and continue to have this conversation. I just wanted to get on and talk a little Matthew Stafford just to kind of get the ball rolling here with the quarterback carousel, because here's the thing. There's a lot of either free agents or options out there for the Raiders if they want to go this route. Mentioned a lot of them in this video already. And you got to consider your checks and balances here, right? What's it going to cost? What you got to give up? How does it affect the cap? How does it affect the locker room? How many years? There's so much at play here. I'm not against a veteran quarterback. If we're trying to be in a win now mode while building for the future, it's kind of starting to feel and look like that's the way we want to go. In fact, I think if you took everything for face value, I would say either Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, or Russell Wilson, maybe in that order, is going to be the next quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders. That's the image that's being put out in front of us. That's what's being laid out in front of us right now. That's the way the Raiders want us to think. That's what the Raiders want the league to think, right? If you're trying to get someone like Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, you want to paint that image right now. You want to keep everybody guessing on what you're doing. Now, the minute you pull that trigger, cat's out of the bag, right? I don't see them drafting a quarterback in the first round if they bring in somebody the caliber of those three quarterbacks. I don't. That tells me that we're going quarterback in the second or third round, and it'll most likely be someone like a Will Howard that you team up with Chip Kelly to kind of start grooming. And that doesn't mean anything. Like maybe we really address the quarterback of the future next year when there's more options and more quarterbacks on the table that people say are going to be better. If you want to believe what they're saying about the quarterbacks that are coming out this year, which is they're not that great. Don't expect much from them. Don't know if that's to be true. But right now, a lot of smoke and mirrors. We got to let it play out. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about it either. So Matthew Stafford, he would be my number one if the price is right. Not from a cash perspective, from compensation. That's the biggest problem that I have with the whole Matthew Stafford deal. Outside of that, I'm down for Aaron Rodgers. I think you get him at a decent price. I'm down with Russell Wilson. There's other combinations that we'll come back and talk about later, kind of like some of the younger people that may be out there, some other quarterbacks that may be available that could come in here and compete, and you can kind of set the tone of what type of offense you're going to be, because that's the thing. What kind of offense are you going to be, right? And let's remember, when it comes to the draft and free agency, everything that we've been told and that we've seen and that we've heard, even though it's been blots here and there, Tom Brady is making the quarterback decisions. I think we kind of know that. I think everybody should be on the same page as that. So as we start to fantasize of what quarterbacks that are going to be here, think about that first. So that's why everybody talks about Shedeur, to be quite honest with you. And that's why everybody's talking heavy Matthew Stafford right now, because there's been a rumor and a connection to him and Brady talking, having conversations, and even meeting in Montana. It makes sense. Anyways, not going to keep you long today. Still trying to work my way through this, develop a groove, develop a flow to get these things out more than not. Bear with me as I put this all together. I just wanted to come talk a little Matthew Stafford, quarterback. I'm working on that full-on quarterback video where we come in, we address everybody in free agency and my thoughts of exactly who I think would be pair up with who and who, right? And who we should be targeting in the draft. Thank you guys very much. Again, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, like button, all that. Leave me a comment. Big shout out to Roland Dubs also, who corrected me. I forgot to say that at the beginning of the video. Tim Brown did play for the Buccaneers and didn't retire a Raider like I said he did. And shout out, man. Hey, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm legally blind, man, unscripted, all off the top of my dome. I can't read screens and do all that. So I'm going to be making mistakes. It's fine. And you guys are more than willing. You're not here to be educated. You're not here to get insider news. We're just here to talk football. All right, guys, till the next time, stay Raider strong. Night out.